The alarm shrieked through the silence at 4:47 a.m., 3 minutes earlier than usual. Ethan Langford sat up in the darkness, heart pounding, not from the sound, but from what lay ahead. This wasn't an ordinary morning. Today, the billionaire CEO of Golden Griddle, a breakfast empire valued at $2,300,000,000, 0 cents, would become invisible. Anonymous. Nobody. In the sterile light of his marble-clad bathroom, Ethan stared at the stranger in the mirror. Gone was the Italian suit stitched from ambition, the polished leather shoes that whispered wealth with every step. In their place, a second-hand polo shirt, creased and faded like forgotten dreams, jeans with a rip just above the knee, and sneakers that had lost their purpose long ago. His usual slicked-backed hair now curled in defiance, and a patchy beard shadowed his jaw, a deliberate disguise. "You look like hell," he whispered, almost amused. For the first time in months, the corners of his mouth dared to twitch upward. Maybe becoming no one would help him remember who he was. The 43-minute drive to Maplewood was a slow descent from glass towers to cracked sidewalks. Ethan had hand-picked this location, remote from HQ, plagued by complaints, bleeding customer loyalty. His board wanted to shut it down, fire the manager, and slash costs. But Ethan couldn't accept that, not without seeing the truth with his own eyes. Golden Griddle wasn't just a business. It was legacy, his grandfather's dream, his life's work. The restaurant sat wedged between a dry cleaner and a sketchy phone repair shop. Its sign, once a beacon of warm breakfasts and childhood memories, was faded, its colors leached by time and neglect. Only 3 cars and a battered motorcycle claimed the parking lot at 5:30 a.m. When Ethan walked through the glass doors, he expected the familiar comfort of syrup and fresh coffee. Instead, he was greeted by the flat staleness of something that had once been welcoming and now just survived. The booths were tired, the floor clean but dull, and overhead lights flickered like failing stars. "You must be the new guy," a voice called out. Ethan turned to see a stocky man with thinning hair and an authority complex barely contained by his Brent manager name tag. The handshake was lifeless, a formality lacking warmth. "That's me, Ethan Evans," he replied, slipping into the alias he'd practiced. "Here to learn the ropes." Brent's eyes scanned him from head to toe, skepticism in every glance. "Heard you're some office guy, huh? Well, this ain't no cubicle farm. We move fast. No hand-holding." And just like that, the line was drawn. Insider versus outsider. The next 3 hours blurred into a storm of grease and noise. Ethan fumbled at first, but soon found rhythm, flipping eggs without breaking yolks, navigating the bacon station with cautious confidence, rediscovering physical strain in muscles corporate life had long sedated. The kitchen was short-staffed, only 4 people doing the work of 6, and every minute felt like firefighting blindfolded. Still, he watched, observed. Brent barely left his office, emerging only to bark commands or blame someone else. When customers grumbled, it was lazy workers. Wrong orders, poor training. The man carried excuses like a shield. By 8:30 IOM, the chaos gave way to a lull. The adrenaline faded, leaving behind aching feet and a shirt soaked with sweat. Ethan, now smelling like bacon grease and burnt toast, had learned something no board meeting could teach him. The staff cared. They didn't just show up. They supported one another, traded tips, made miracles out of limited resources. "Take 15. Call Maria," Brent grunted. Maria, the head cook, moved through the kitchen like a maestro, mid-50s, steel in her spine, grace in her hands. She nodded at Ethan with quiet respect. "You earned it." Stepping into the dining area, Ethan slid into a booth with cracked vinyl. Only 2 tables were occupied, an old man nursing a black coffee and a mother battling twin toddlers and a waffle war. From this angle, the menu, the one he'd personally approved, looked lifeless. The descriptions were flat, the photos outdated, even the font screamed 1998. How had he never seen it before? A waitress approached, radiating warmth in a place that felt so cold. Her name tag read Mara. Her eyes smiled before her lips did. "What can I get you, hon?" "I'll take the pancake special and coffee." "You're the new kitchen guy, huh? How's your first day?" Ethan let out a breath that felt heavier than it should have. "Surviving." Mara poured his coffee with the ease of a seasoned pro. "That's good. We're like family here. The ones who stay, anyway. Brent can be tough. Don't take it personal. He guards his territory." "Territory?" Ethan watched her walk away, those words echoing like a warning. What exactly was Brent protecting? 10 minutes later, Mara returned with a plate of pancakes that looked like they belonged in a commercial. Perfectly round, golden, a pat of butter melting seductively on top. But it wasn't the pancakes that caught Ethan's attention. It was the syrup. Darker than what he remembered. Thicker, glossier, almost glowing under the fluorescent lights. He poured it with curiosity, and the scent that rose was nothing short of heavenly. Deep maple with undertones of vanilla, maybe cinnamon, maybe something else. Something he couldn't place. He took a bite, and the world stilled. This wasn't syrup. This was alchemy. Velvet on the tongue. A harmony of rich sweetness layered with mystery. He had tasted every supplier's blend, approved every concoction on the company's books. And this wasn't from any of them. He chewed slowly, trying to unravel the secret. It was complex, like wine that revealed more with each sip. Not factory-made. Handcrafted. This syrup had soul. Mara returned, coffee pot in hand. "How's everything tasting?" Ethan, still mid-reverie, tried to sound casual. "The syrup. It's incredible. What brand is it?" For a moment, Mara's face shifted. Surprise, then something else. Worry? Guilt? "Oh, that's just our regular syrup. Nothing special." But Ethan knew better. And that answer? It wasn't the truth. Ethan had been in business long enough to recognize the tremble behind a smile, the flicker in the eyes when a lie slips through clenched teeth. Mara's gaze flicked nervously toward the kitchen before settling back on him, her smile now brittle, like a porcelain mask ready to crack. "Really?" Ethan said softly, his voice laced with curiosity more than challenge. "Because I've eaten pancakes in 10 countries, and whatever I had this morning, that was something else." Mara's hand trembled slightly as she refilled his coffee. I think Brent handles all the ordering. You'd have to ask him," she stammered before slipping away, her retreat rapid and awkward. Ethan stared at his plate, now empty but still whispering secrets. The flavor of the syrup lingered, etched into his memory with the precision of a map drawn in invisible ink. Something here didn't match. In a restaurant filled with scuffed linoleum and flickering lights, someone was weaving magic, and hiding it in plain sight. Back in the kitchen, he moved faster, more focused, but his thoughts were a storm beneath the surface. Brent couldn't find out how much he'd noticed. Not yet. The rhythm of the afternoon shift was gentler, but his mind refused to quiet. Conversations blurred into background noise, pans clanged, eggs sizzled, and through it all, Ethan kept replaying that flavor, each note, each layer of complexity. His gut told him this wasn't just a local syrup supplier. It was something rarer, something personal. He took a fake smoke break, his excuse to slip away and dive into his phone. Within minutes, he pulled up Golden Griddle's procurement database. Morrison Food Services, the standard supplier, delivered a synthetic blend that cost $12.00 a gallon. Cheap, efficient, soulless. Whatever he'd tasted, it had soul. His phone buzzed, a message from his assistant. Board meeting moved to Thursday. Jenkins wants underperforming location reports by Wednesday. To the board, this location was a write-off, but now Ethan wasn't so sure. Something was hiding behind these tired walls, something beautiful, and someone was protecting it with everything they had. Back to work, Evans, Brent snapped, appearing from nowhere with that smug, supervisory tone he wore like armor. Actually, Brent, Ethan began, carefully, pocketing his phone. I wanted to ask about the syrup. It's incredible. Best I've ever had. Brent's expression transformed. His chest swelled, eyes lighting up with the intoxication of praise. You noticed that, huh? He said, voice dipping into a conspiratorial whisper. We're part of a special pilot program, corporates testing a premium blend at select locations, real fancy stuff, costs 3 times as much as the regular junk. Ethan raised his brows, feigning awe. That's amazing. I didn't even know corporate was experimenting with syrup. It's, Brandt hesitated, eyes darting like a guilty child searching for a lie that fits. Called the Premium Experience Initiative. Very hush-hush. Only 12 restaurants in the country got picked. Every word reeked of fabrication. Ethan had been the final signer on every R&D pilot in the company's history. There was no Premium Experience Initiative. How long have you been running it? Oh, about 6 months. Corporate's thrilled with our performance. They love my feedback. Another falsehood. Ethan had seen this location's satisfaction scores. Dead last in the region. Brandt was improvising badly, desperate to maintain a story that made him the hero of a narrative no one else was writing. And Ethan nodded and excused himself. His stomach twisted, not from doubt, but from the thrill of the chase. Brent wasn't just bluffing. He was hiding something. Maybe he wasn't the mastermind. Maybe he didn't even understand what he was guarding. But he was definitely the gatekeeper. That evening, Ethan changed tactics. Casual curiosity slipped into his conversations. That pancake syrup, man, that stuff's addictive, he said while dicing onions beside Carlos, a young line cook with quick hands and sharper instincts. Oh, you mean the crack syrup? Carlos laughed. Customers ask about it all the time. Where's it from? Carlos shrugged. Brent's real secretive, won't even tell us the supplier. Calls it a trade secret, whatever that means. He dropped his voice. Between us, I think he's flipping it, like selling it on the side or something. That theory didn't add up. Scam artists didn't peddle quality, they cut corners. What Ethan had tasted was the opposite. It was excellence, crafted, loved. As closing time neared, Ethan offered to help with inventory, his golden ticket. While Brent smoked out back, Ethan moved quickly. The walk-in cooler was cold, industrial, sterile, until he reached the back. Tucked behind tubs of mayonnaise, he found them, 12 glass bottles. Wine size, labeled with delicate care in handwritten block letters, Maple Blend, No. 3. He picked one up, holding it to the light. The syrup inside glistened, rich, dark, dignified. The label wasn't corporate. It was human, personal. Find what you're looking for? Ethan froze. Brent stood in the doorway, arms crossed, face unreadable. The cold in his eyes matched the freezer's chill. Just checking inventory, Ethan said, setting the bottle down with reverent care. Some things are off limits to trainees, Brent replied, stepping forward just enough to block the shelf. Corporate policy. Ethan nodded and slipped past, but not before catching the fear behind Brent's eyes. Not irritation, not anger, fear. The kind that said, "This secret matters." Outside, Ethan's hands trembled, not from cold, but from the weight of revelation. Someone here was making that syrup, by hand, with artistry, and Brent was standing guard like it was the last candle in a windstorm. The next morning, rain tapped the windows like impatient fingers. Ethan arrived early, fueled by determination and caffeine. He'd spent the night researching every artisanal syrup maker within 100 miles. Nothing matched, no branding, no labels, which meant the answer was closer than he thought. "You're early," Mara said, tying her apron. "Most new hires quit mentally after day 2. "I like it here," Ethan said, and was surprised to realize he meant it. For all its dysfunction, this place had a heartbeat, a soul. Mara eyed him over her coffee. "You're different. Most of Brent's hires are running from something. You're looking for something." Ethan hesitated. "Maybe I am." Before he could elaborate, the back door creaked open. A young man no older than 22 slipped in like a shadow. Thin, hunched, backpack clutched tightly. "Morning, Luca," Mara called gently. The boy nodded, gave a shy wave, and disappeared into the dish pit. "Or dishwasher," she said softly. "He's on the spectrum. Doesn't say much, but he's the hardest worker we've got." Ethan watched from the kitchen pass-through. Luca moved with eerie precision, aligning dish racks with the grace of a conductor tuning an orchestra. Everything had its place, no wasted motion. "How does he handle rush hour?" "He doesn't just handle it," Mara said with a rare smile. "He keeps the rest of us from falling apart. He sees patterns we don't, like he's conducting chaos." During a break, Ethan spotted Luca alone, eating from a lunchbox, scribbling in a small notebook. Next to him was a jar. Dark syrup, thick and familiar. Ethan's breath caught. "Mara," he said, voice low, "I need to ask you something about the syrup." She stiffened, her body instinctively bracing. "I know Brent's story is a lie. There's no corporate pilot, and I think... You know who's really making it?" Mara glanced over her shoulder, her voice dropping to a whisper as she made sure Brent was still locked in his office, likely buried in mobile games while the restaurant ran itself. "Why do you care so much?" she asked, genuinely. It wasn't a confrontation, it was curiosity laced with caution. Ethan hesitated. He couldn't reveal the truth, not yet, so he leaned into something that was also true. "Because this place, this syrup, it's special, and everyone here is pretending it isn't. Someone's creating something extraordinary right under our noses, and instead of celebrating it, everyone's hiding." She stared at him, her eyes scanning his expression as if peeling away layers of pretense. Finally, she sighed. "It's complicated," she murmured, "and it's not really my story to tell." "Then whose story is it?" Ethan asked softly. Her eyes drifted to the dish pit, where Luca worked with the quiet dedication of a craftsman. His notebook nowhere in sight, but never far from reach. "You seem like a good guy, Ethan, but some things, some people, are fragile," Mara said. "Luca's had a hard time fitting in. This job, this routine, it means something to him. It gives him structure, safety, and if the wrong people find out about his hobbies, it might destroy the one place he feels safe." "What kind of hobbies?" Ethan pressed, gently. "He makes things," Mara said with a softness reserved for secrets worth guarding. "Food, flavors, blends. He doesn't just taste, he understands. It's like he has a sense the rest of us don't. But he's vulnerable. People take advantage." It's clicked. The syrup, the notebook, the quiet brilliance. Luca was the creator, and Brent knows? Mara nodded slowly. He noticed the reviews, the comments, people praising the syrup. Luca was bringing it in just for himself. It's all he can eat. The standard syrup messes with his system. But when Brent saw the reactions, he started using it. Quietly. Without asking. It's worse than that, she added in a whisper. Brent's been taking credit. Told corporate the improved reviews were from his new recipe. Even hinted to food bloggers that he created it. Ethan felt his chest tighten with a slow, burning anger. Not the boardroom variety born of inefficiency or loss, but a personal fury. A man was stealing from someone who didn't even understand he was being robbed. Does Luca know? He knows his syrup is being used. He's proud of that. But he doesn't understand the business side. Doesn't know Brent's exploiting it. Or him. Ethan looked toward the dish pit. Luca scrubbed a pan with the same care he gave every task, unaware that something he loved was being commodified. I need to talk to him, Ethan said, resolve hardening in his voice. Be careful, Mara warned. Luca's trust is rare, and if Brent catches wind you're asking questions, he'll do whatever it takes to protect his story. He's built his future on this lie. Ethan nodded, but he already knew. Brent's lie had run out of road. 3 days later, the perfect opportunity arrived. The restaurant was nearly empty, the dinner crowd sparse. Ethan had studied Brent's patterns, the false inventory checks that were really smoke breaks. From the kitchen pass-through, Ethan spotted Brent sneak into the walk-in cooler. A minute later, he emerged, carrying one of Luca's bottles like a relic. But instead of heading to the prep line, Brent veered toward his office. Ethan followed, walking past the office window at just the right moment. Inside, Brent sat at his desk, peeling off Luca's handwritten label, replacing it with a shiny corporate-style sticker. A lie in glossy print, erasing the hands that created it. Ethan's heart clenched. This wasn't just theft, this was identity theft, soul theft. They knocked. What? Brent barked, guilty reflexes in full display. Sorry, Ethan said, stepping inside like it was routine. We're low on premium syrup for the morning. Want me to grab another bottle? Brent blanched. The half-labeled bottle sat in plain view. He instinctively tried to hide it behind his monitor. That's not your concern, he snapped. Ethan shut the door behind him. The Premium Experience Initiative, he said calmly. Tell me, how does a dishwasher's homemade syrup become a corporate test product? Brent's mask cracked. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about Luca syrup. The bottles he brings in because he can't handle the artificial stuff. The ones you've been relabeling to make them look official. Brent stood abruptly, knocking over a coffee mug. You don't understand, this is bigger than stealing from a kid with autism? Ethan's voice cut like steel. I'm not stealing, Brent said desperately. I'm giving him exposure. Do you think anyone would care about some dishwasher's hobby? But if it comes from Golden Griddle, if it has our backing, it gets attention. And who gets the credit for that attention? Ethan asked. Silence. I've read your emails. You told corporate satisfaction scores went up because of your new recipe. You're positioning yourself for a promotion built on someone else's talent. Brent's lips moved to protest, but nothing came out. Just guilt, written in sweat and silence. Who the hell are you? He finally demanded. Ethan reached into his pocket, pulling out his wallet, and from it, a sleek business card with his real name and title. Brent stared at it like it was radioactive. This is fake. Call corporate, Ethan said, cool and steady. Ask them about Ethan Langford. Ask about his undercover visits. Brent did. And Ethan watched every ounce of color drain from the man's face as his worst fears were confirmed. Mr. Langford, Brent whispered. You can't explain this away, Ethan said. You lied. You stole. You built a narrative on the back of someone who trusted you. How long? Brent collapsed into his chair. 6 months. You were going to what? Give him a thank you someday? Maybe a gift card? Ethan's tone was sharp, unforgiving. Doesn't get it, Brent said weakly. He just makes it because he loves the taste. He doesn't understand profit, marketing. No, Ethan interrupted. But you knew, and that's the difference. Brent's shoulders sagged. I needed this job. My wife laughed I'm behind on everything. Corporate wanted to shut this place down. And instead of leading, you stole. Ethan stepped closer. I'm fixing this. Starting now. Clean out your desk. You can't fire me. I have rights. You signed a contract. It prohibits fraud. It demands respect for employees. You broke both. Brent opened his mouth, but Ethan raised a hand. You have 30 minutes. Security will escort you out. Your final paycheck will be adjusted for the misused property. Every bottle, every fake label, every lie. It all belongs to Golden Griddle now, and we're going to make sure the real creator gets the recognition he's earned. Brent stared blankly, then began packing, defeated. 20 minutes later, Ethan walked him to his car, cardboard box in hand, the staff watching through the windows with wide eyes and hushed voices. But Ethan didn't stop to explain, not yet. There was someone he needed to speak with first. He returned to the kitchen, heart pounding in a strange mix of grief and resolve. Luca stood at the dish pit, as always, hands moving in precise patterns, scrubbing, rinsing, stacking. Each motion was poetry in action, quiet, consistent, brilliant. And now, finally, someone was going to see the masterpiece he'd been quietly building all along. Luca, Ethan said gently, careful not to startle him. The young man glanced up, made fleeting eye contact, then returned to his work with practiced focus. I ate them. Sorry, I need to finish the soup pots before I can talk. That's okay, I can wait. Ethan didn't mind. In fact, watching Luca work was like watching an artist in motion. Each scrub, each rinse, performed with quiet purpose. There was no frustration, no wasted movement, just complete, mindful attention. And there was beauty in that. Mara told me you make syrup, Ethan said after a pause. Luca's hands stopped mid-motion. She told you about that? She said it's the best she's ever had. I have to agree. A small smile flickered across Luca's face, his first true expression since Ethan met him. I like making it. Most syrup tastes wrong, too sweet, too fake. It hurts my mouth. So you make your own? I make a lot of things, Luca said, finally turning to face Ethan. Syrups, sauces, dressings. But syrup's my favorite. It's like music for taste. Every note has to be right or the whole song falls apart. Ethan felt something stir in his chest. This wasn't just skill. It was creative genius, shaped by sensitivity and soul. Would you show me your recipe? Luca dried his hands, then studied Ethan with a searching gaze, the longest eye contact he'd held so far. Why do you want to see it? Because I think what you're doing is incredible, and I think the world should know. Brent uses my syrup, Luca said matter-of-factly. He says it makes customers happy. That makes me happy too. Ethan's jaw clenched, but he kept his tone gentle. Did Brent ever tell you where it goes, after he takes it? To the customers, on pancakes, waffles, sometimes they ask Mara where it's from. She always looks sad. Would you show me how you make it? Luca hesitated, fingers tapping out a rhythm against the counter. Finally, he nodded. I have my notebook. I don't usually show people. They don't understand the numbers. I'd like to try. Luca disappeared into the break room and returned cradling a worn composition notebook, its cover soft from use. He placed it on the counter like it was sacred. This is my flavor book. he said, opening to a page labeled Maple Blend No. 3. It wasn't just a recipe. It was a science lab. Handwritten notes, small sketches, chemical ratios, sugar curves, vanilla gradients. There were graphs and something called mouthfeel coefficients. Bellatier. You created this? Ethan asked, awestruck. Tastes have patterns, Luca said, flipping pages. Most people just throw ingredients together. But if you understand the patterns, the flavors can work together instead of fighting. Boucle. Dozens of pages followed, barbecue sauces with pH charts, salad dressings with emulsification schedules, jams with pectin strength, formulas. This is extraordinary, Ethan said, his voice barely above a whisper. I started when I was 12. My mom got sick from store-bought food, too many chemicals, so I made stuff she could eat. Then I started making it better. Ethan turned another page. Drawings of labels, branding mock-ups, business plans scribbled in careful print. One page was titled Golden Taste Company, syrup that listens to your mouth. You want to start your own company? Luca flushed. It's pretend. I know I can. People like Brent know business. I just know flavor. Before Ethan could respond, Mara walked in with Carlos and the rest of the crew. They'd clearly overheard and were watching with quiet pride. Everything okay? Mara asked, but her eyes were on Luca. Luca was showing me his notebook. Ethan said, It's incredible. That's not even the best part, Carlos added. Tell him about the barbecue sauce. Carlos. Luca murmured, embarrassed. No, seriously. This guy made a sauce that had people driving from 3 towns over. Brent said it was too complicated. It's not, Luca mumbled. It just needs to rest 6 hours between cookings. Ethan looked at them, the way they orbited around Luca, gently lifting him up, shielding him from a world too harsh for his softness. They weren't just co-workers. They were protectors. Luca, Ethan said. What if I told you you can start your own business? What if I told you people would pay to experience your flavors? Luca's eyes widened. You mean it? I do. But first, there's something I need to tell you. I'm not just a line cook. We figured that out, Mara said with a grin. You did? Carlos laughed. You ask too many smart questions. And you know too much about corporate, Mara added. Plus, you tip like someone who's never seen a minimum wage paycheck. Ethan chuckled. Luca, I'm the CEO of Golden Griddle. That means I'm Brent's boss. You're Brent's boss? Luca's hands froze. Did I get him in trouble? I didn't mean to. No, Brent got himself in trouble, and now that's over. 3 weeks later, Ethan stood in the same restaurant. But it felt like a whole new world. Flickering lights had been replaced, booths reupholstered, floors refinished, but the real change was in the people. Mr. Langford, Luca called from the counter, carefully aligning glass bottles of syrup. The new batch is ready. Let's try it, Ethan said with a smile. Luca poured a spoonful with solemn precision. Ethan tasted it. Warm, rich, complex. Is that cardamom? Luca lit up. Just a tiny bit. I thought it would make the maple taste warmer, but I only used 0.3%. Otherwise, it would fight the vanilla. It's perfect. The restaurant buzzed. Word had spread. A local gem had gone viral. Mara approached with a tablet. Lunch reservations are full again, and that magazine called back about the interview. I don't know what to say to magazine people, Luca admitted, fingers tapping. Say what you told us, Mara said. About flavors having patterns. Show them your notebook, Carlos added. It's like magic. Ethan watched them. This mismatched crew now transformed into a team led by purpose and pride. Actually, he said, I've got something for you. He pulled out a shipping box filled with bottles. Luca's eyes widened. The labels were elegant, golden script on cream. Luca's Reserve Maple Blend No. 3. Below, created by Luca Martinez, flavor artist. At the bottom, a smiling pancake drawn from his notebook. This is mine, Luca whispered. It always was, Ethan said. Now the world knows. Luca turned the bottle over, reverently. It says flavor artist. What do you think an artist does? Mara asked. They make beautiful things that didn't exist before. Then yes, Ethan said. You're absolutely an artist. The bell above the door chimed. A well-dressed man entered with his family. We drove 2 hours to try the syrup we read about, he said to Mara. Is it really that good? He smiled and pointed to Luca. Why don't you ask the person who made it? The man looked surprised, but Luca stepped forward, bottle in hand. I make it in small batches, he said. Each one takes 3 days because the flavors need time to become friends. As he explained, Ethan watched with quiet pride. His phone buzzed. Board meeting moved up. Maplewood's viral. Stock up 12%. He looked around, at customers savoring every bite, at Mara and Carlos working with pride, and at Luca, finally seen. 6 months ago, this restaurant was set for closure. Today, it was the heart of a new vision. Mr. Langford, Luca appeared, holding a small bottle. I made this for you. The label read in Luca's handwriting, for the boss who listens to more than just numbers. Ethan took it, his throat tightening. Thank you, Luca, for reminding me what we're really building here. Outside, the sun gleamed off the new sign, Golden Griddle, but it was the smaller sign in the window that meant everything. 17, 16, 18. Home of Luca's Reserve. Made by someone who listens to flavor better than most of us listen to each other. Because sometimes the greatest discoveries are made not by seeking power, but by listening. And sometimes the most powerful voices belong to those who speak the least.